Hi everyone, this is Jenny Parks. I am coming to you today from Wisconsin and on behalf of MEC, Midwestern Higher Education Compact, and we're going to have today with us Jerry Hanley from SkillsCommons coming to you from California. You also see my dogs and my son in the background are helping me out here. I welcome you all, and I'm excited that you're going to have this conversation about OER for open educational resources for career and technical ed. And as we go through the program today, you'll hear us say OER for open educational resources and CTE for career and technical education. SkillsCommons, for those of you who don't know, and you'll learn a little bit more, is the premier site for such resources, and not just the texts themselves, but for a number of other resources that can support your work in this area. So we're just going to wait a few more minutes till other people get online, and we will get started with our webinar. All right. I'll just repeat what I said a few minutes ago. Welcome to the MEC SkillsCommons webinar today, known as Free and Open Online Library of CTE Instructional Materials and Program Support Resources. I am Jenny Parks. I'm coming to you from MEC, the Midwestern Higher Education Compact, and we have Jerry Hanley, the Executive Director of SkillsCommons, with us today. He's going to be sharing with us all of the resources that are part of the SkillsCommons hub, website, whatever you want to call it. It's more like a universe. It's a huge set of things. So excited to have you with us here today, Jerry, and thank you very much. For those of you who work with MEC on a regular basis with OER, you know that this year we're really trying to focus on career and technical ed resources and the recruitment of faculty, and trying really hard to push OER at the community college, technical college level, and in career and technical education fields. So it is 1 o'clock. Welcome very much. Just so you all, I'll remind you that the slides are available at the bottom of your little control panel there. They're in red, so please feel free to click on that and access them. We will be recording the webinar, and that recording will be sent to you afterwards. If you have questions, you'll see that there is a place in your control panel to submit them. I'll be monitoring them and making sure that we address them. And then you will, when you receive the slides, when you receive the recording at the end, you'll also receive a survey. Please go ahead quickly, it's very short, and let us know how we did on the webinar so that we can do even better the next time. So I am joined today by my colleagues behind the curtain, Mary and Katie. Thank you for your help with this. And Katie, can we go to the next slide, please? It's me once again, welcome, and that's Jerry. Jerry has a lot of titles: Executive Director of Merlot and SkillsCommons, Director of the Center for Usability and Design and Accessibility, California State University, Long Beach, and Professor Emeritus, Department of Psychology, California State University, Long Beach. Next, please. All right, well, I am going to turn it over to Jerry, and he's going to start and warm you up with a set of poll questions that you'll be able to respond to, and we'll learn a little bit more about our audience.
Great, thank you, Jenny. And so in order for me to really serve your needs and for welcome, first I should say hello, welcome, and thank you so much for spending your time here. And I have a motto, which is give a gift and not a burden. And it's hard to give a gift if you don't know who the person you're giving to. So the first question is, what role do you play on your campus? So if you can click on the poll there, so I get a sense of what your likely needs are, whether you're a faculty member, administrator, instructional designer, etc. So that'd be great. Appreciate if you'd click that on.
We do have some votes coming in, so I'll just give you guys a few more seconds to vote. All right, looks like most voted, so I'm just gonna close it and here are the results.
All righty. All right, so we have a lot of other, let's see. So what, maybe Jenny or Katie, do you have any idea of what those other people might be, since the majority of them are in the other category?
This is Jenny. I'm going to invite people to use the question function on their control panel and just go ahead and type in there what your other position might be. And I'll take a look at them and offer a summary in a few minutes, Jerry.
Great, that'd be great. Thank you. Appreciate it. So we have a good mix of people, so I'll make sure when I review the SkillsCommons services to make sure we highlight things that all of you can use. Katie, you want to hit the next question? So in looking at whatever role that you're playing, what are some of the key goals that you have? Looking for materials, strategies for you to help during COVID, that is like moving online, helping you move programs, including apprenticeship programs online. It could also be any of those. If any of those fit your interests, that'd be great.
Okay, Jerry, while folks are answering question number 2, I'm going to give you a little bit, excuse me, a little bit of information here. This one, you're going to kick yourself. The bulk of these folks are librarians.
Oh, okay, great. All right.
That's maybe an option we should have given them. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's great.
But we also have a director of a nursing program, a statewide director of healthcare workforce development, and a faculty member who teaches English and humanities, but also has technical students in her programs. So that's great. I'm pretty excited. Thank you for sharing all that information, folks. I bet we have our answers to number 2 ready now.
Okay, great.
All right, it looks like most have voted, so I am gonna close this and I'll get you results.
All right, so
There you go.
all right, looking for content and moving some programs online as apprenticeship. Great, wonderful. All right, and
Went the last poll.
yep.
Okay, here it is.
So just how familiar you are with open educational resources?
All right, actually most have voted, so I'm going to go ahead and close this one for you.
All right, great. That's wonderful. So we have a mix of people who are familiar and not familiar. So I'll make sure I cover some of that explanation there too. Thank you so much. And for all the librarians out there, I am a recovering administrator from the Cal State system. I was the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Academic Technology, and I worked with our technology library systems for all 23 campuses for almost 20 years. So I have a great love for libraries and librarians. The work you do is great, and so I'll talk a bit about how what we can do to help you there too. All right, so now I'm just going to share my screen. We'll go through a few PowerPoint slides, and then I'll be doing some live demo. And I believe in the chat, or if you want, the URL for SkillsCommons is www.skillscommons.org, and you can play along as I do demos as well. So when I mentioned before, my job, give you a gift and not a burden. And so how can I provide you some free and easy access to teaching and learning materials, strategies, and tools to support your CTE programs. So I'll give you a little background about SkillsCommons, then we'll jump into a demo to show you how you can use it and the rich range of materials that are there. And then we can really discuss how to really adopt SkillsCommons resources to support your programs. And for librarians, really, how do you enable your ability as a reference service to help people find the materials that they need for their courses? So in 2010, the Department of Labor began the Trade Adjustment Assistance Community College and Career Training Grant. And that funded over 4 years, $1.9 billion to over 700 community colleges in every state. And so there was, about $500 million each year, and each campus or as a consortium had 4 years to implement these programs. So you really had a program that started in 2010, ended at the end of 2018. And the goal of all this was about building the capacity of community colleges to prepare people for the 21st century workforce. And how do you bring innovative designs to enable people to learn more effectively, complete programs, and get jobs that had higher salaries. And so the requirements for all the funding that went through and all the programs were, one is all the material had to be developed with an employer partner. So if you're working in healthcare and you're in California, what's your employer? Is it going to be Kaiser Permanente? And how do you ensure the curriculum that you're developing will be aligned with the employer's skill set that they want their employees to have? So that dialogue, I think, was very important when you're thinking about the materials that we have in the collection, is knowing that they were always done in partnership with employers. The second aspect around the programs were around how do you enable students and adults to accelerate their ability to be ready for employment. So we'll have materials from around assessment tools for credit for prior learning. How do you enable that the student to be able to showcase what they've learned and meet competency requirements? How do you, they also have materials about how do you create stacked or lattice credentials, which is basically modularizing your education so that you do little pieces at a time and then you can put them together like Legos to form greater and more powerful credentials for your ability to be employed. Certainly moving online was an important element for the programs to provide greater convenience for people to be able to do their learning while they're currently employed and living the lives that they had, and also to look at learning workplace learning to enable those skills and apprenticeships to support the earn while you learn model. So the materials, the reason for going this is the types of materials that you're going to find will be related to employability. And some of the measures that these projects had were how many people, how fast did they complete the program, how many people got employed within 6 months, and what were their salaries afterwards. So we have a lot of a lot of project reports that help you can look at, did the materials and the strategies for teaching actually lead to benefits for people? So all the grant funding, just to summarize here, you have designed to meet employer needs, really critical process. Now, one of the other requirements that the Department of Labor provided or required was all the materials created by in the grant had to have a Creative Commons license. And since there are a number of people who are not familiar with what open educational resources are, or OER, I'll spend a little time describing that. So whenever content is created, the creator, the author, automatically owns the copyright. So you've probably, and what are that? That's in a sense, you have the rights to control who copies your material or who can reuse that. Now, what those rights are, you might have heard all rights reserved, and those are reserved to the person who created it. So copyright means you have exclusive rights to control what you created. Now, that means when you want to use someone else's stuff, you always have to ask very specific permission for you to reuse that. And that's what, when you own the copyright, then you can have the rights to determine who can copy that. Now, there are other type of licenses that as an owner that you can add onto materials. So it can be, yes, you can use this, and I'll tell you ahead of time rather than having to ask me individually whether you can use it. But what I want you to do is you can reuse it, but you have to attribute it to me. So you just can't, in a sense, steal my stuff and put your name on it, but you can use the stuff and make sure you reference me, make sure my name is on those resources so people know where this comes from. But if you want, you can revise that material, or you can remix it with other things, you can retain it and redistribute it. So open educational resources with particular Creative Commons licenses gives you permission to reuse the material. All right, and I'll show you some of the information about what that is. So open education resources, for those who are not familiar, so they're online materials, they're free of cost, and they're free of restrictions for you to reuse them without having to get specific permission on that. Okay, so that's really what open education resources, why that's such a useful set of materials to support teaching and learning, is it enables the sharing of those materials in a much more inclusive manner. And it also allows you, when it has particular licenses on that, your ability to customize it for your local needs. And that's really what's so important for effective education, is for you to contextualize those materials. So creative open education resources with Creative Commons license gives you that freedom to, in a sense, customize those materials, and know those materials were also evaluated by subject matter experts. So for all the grants, there was always a third-party evaluator that would review the material that was created and provided their evaluation. So you had both connected to employer priorities, you now have the freedom to use those materials, reuse them, and you have some confidence that they are high quality. Then all these things had to be uploaded into the SkillsCommons library. So that's just a little background, hopefully, about where all these materials came from and some of the nature about those resources. So you can think of SkillsCommons is a public library. Anyone can walk in the digital doors. Anyone can search through the materials. And I'll say the other aspect is anyone can take a book out of the library, or you can download the files for your personal use. And what's nice about this, you'll never have a late fee, because you're able to open education resources, you're able to retain those materials for as long as you want. So those are important elements about open education resources. And then what we have in SkillsCommons is all the materials created by all these grants. So I hope that was a little bit of an overview, a little bit of the background of that. And so we're now going to go to do the demo right now, and we'll say what's in the library. So what's in the collection? I'll show you that, give you examples, and then I'm going to show you some, we call them showcases. Try to make these ready to use. The old term might be shovel ready, or if you're thinking about food, is where you can drive through, grab some stuff, and use it right away. All right, and then I'll talk a little bit about the Connect Center, which is what are some resources that are out there that you can get connected with communities of people, and then we can talk a little bit about some other materials about helping you to move online. So I'm just going to get out of the PowerPoint, and now I'm going to show. Now we're live on the website, and let me just minimize that screen. Sorry there. So that will let me. Whoop, just move this over so I can make sure I get the full view. All right. So hopefully everyone is seeing SkillsCommons.org. And on the navigation button on the top here, just so you know, if you want to know about the program, who the members are, we have partners, and if you want to find a whole range of open education resources, there was someone in I'll say in the humanities, I think Jenny mentioned, and there's some nursing. So there are lots of other open education resources, and I can highlight those in a little bit. But let me just show you some materials here. So we have our search box, we have advanced search, I'll highlight that. But the first thing I'm going to show you is kind of what's in the collection. So one of our goal is to help you visualize all the resources that you might have in open education resources in CTE areas. So this is a little visualization, and maybe let me just make this a little smaller so it fits in the a little easier there. Okay. So again, a visual description of the library. So if you roll your cursor over, you know, the inner circles gives you the main categories. So we have manufacturing. And for those in CTE, you've probably heard of the North American Industry Classification Scheme. So these are the NAICS codes. So if you're teaching curriculum in particular areas, and if you roll out further in the circle, now you can say, now I'm just focusing in on fabricated metal production manufacturing, which a lot of those things are if I might be looking in welding. And then if I go to the outer circle, and if I just click on that tab there, then it identifies all the materials that have been organized by all the TAC grantees into SkillsCommons. And so you have a hit list of materials. And on the left-hand side, for all the librarians here, this is your metadata scheme of types of materials that you have. If you want to think about the NAICS codes as your subject, here are your types of materials. And then we also have, if you want to say, I'm looking for materials that are particularly associated with stacked or lattice credentials, you have that, certificate, associate degrees, what those are connected to. And then you can also look at, you might find that there are materials in particular institutions that you like. So you might want to look at what's in, you know, Three Rivers Community College, right? Because they might have had a program that's very similar to yours. So these are all the aspects that allow you to kind of narrow down your search to find materials that you might be particularly looking for. And you might say, oh, you know, I'm starting out at developing a course in CTE. So you might want to say, what are all the syllabi to help me start thinking about in fabricated metal manufacturing? And so then you have all these organizations that provide you syllabi that can quickly do that. So I can get, what's my introduction to welding? And so right here, you have a material that I can just click on that material. I click on it, and bingo, here's your welding syllabi that you can say, is this something that I would like to do? And I can use these resources because they have they're Creative Commons licensed material. So again, since we have so many librarians, so here's the full metadata scheme. You're on the occupations, the education, language, you have information about accessibility. And so you can see here is the Creative Commons license that's saying, if you want to use this, all you have to do is attribute it back to the people who authored it. And so this is the National Park College. All right, so hopefully you get a sense of what SkillsCommons is a repository. So you actually can get the files, download them, and reuse them as you wish. If you're interested in looking at other resources, again, you can filter by material type, and there might be full hybrid courses. You might want to say, how do other people teach those? And so here are the courses that you have, and I might go to Ohio TechNet. And so here you can see this is a 16 megabyte file. So this is, for those technical, this is a zip file where there's multiple files inside there. And many of these are learning management system exports. So, so you can take these zipped up files, bring them into your own learning management system, and upload them if they're IMS Common Cartridge, or they might be Blackboard, Canvas, etc. So again, hopefully you're getting a sense of what's in the library are materials that, if you notice, I didn't log in, I didn't have to pay anything, and with the licensing on it, the designation on it, it also is telling you, and you can go use these. So just giving you a sense of you can then explore. We talked about there's healthcare. And so if you're looking at, healthcare, social assistance in hospitals, again, you can roll your cursor over and then you click on that. And so here's your 392 materials. Okay. Now, of course, you can always, here, let me go through the rest of the circle, and then we'll show you the various search capabilities. Scientific technical services, IT, education services, other services, and when you look at those are often facilities management, repair, things along those lines, mining, quarrying. We have then stuff in agriculture, forestry, and even though you might be looking at, oh boy, Jerry, this is a little area, but there's 309 materials that are available in construction. So even though this looks like a small segment, there really is a lot. And you can say, okay, let me blow that up and see what else is there in the construction of buildings. And then I go into the construction of buildings and I want to see, okay, and here's 42 materials, and there's stuff about sustainability, et cetera, like that. So hopefully for faculty who are teachers, you can explore this library to find your materials. Librarians, if you think from a reference perspective, how you're able to support people's discovery with these tools. And if you want to just do a good old keyword search, I know Jenny mentioned something about nursing, so I just hit nursing. I can do a keyword search, and now here, that term nursing pulls up almost 900 materials, and then you can say nursing in what context do I want? So when you do a keyword search, it then gives you all the different NAICS codes, or North American Industry Classifications, for where nursing might be in residential facilities, or it might be in professional schools, or it might be educational services teaching in junior colleges. So all these capabilities are now there for you to select and filter through the content that would be right for you.
Hey, Jerry, do you have a
Yes.
minute? This is Jenny.
Yeah.
We do have someone ask a question. Is there anything in there in info? Is there anything in the information in the individual entries about the accessibility features of the resources?
Of course. Part of the requirement, and let's just pick, yeah, I'll just pick robotics. I'll just pick something. All right. So, and I'll just pick a course. So all the material that was produced with grant funding had to be, and this was because it was a few years ago, 508 compliant. Right now it's WCAG 2.0 AA standards. And so one of the things, what we did is we created a, working with CAST, which is a national organization that works with accessibility and universal design. We have a series of features for instructional materials that would help you evaluate these. So you have text to speech. Is it, you have access to the text, and is there a text to speech capability? You have things like structural markup, which allows you to navigate using, for example, a tab to move through a document, because there are, think of them as landmarks that allow you to quickly navigate through it. So these were the all the dimensions that we created that the each of the producers were, we gave them as guidelines to evaluate their accessibility. Now, each of the materials in the collection will have, I'll say, the way that's represented is in different matters. Some people did a full accessibility report, and some people built the reports or ensured the accessibility within separate documents. So evaluating accessibility might be, here, I'll just, I'm not going to download 237 megabytes, but something like that in that zip file will be an accessibility evaluation report for those materials. Okay. All right, Jenny, what was that? I hope I answered the question there. And let me just talk, since accessibility, and as I mentioned, I was the recovering administrator in the Cal State system.
Looks like it. They said thank you.
Okay, yeah, and just so you know, if you are looking for help in looking at your materials and evaluating accessibility, all right, because that is a critical element here. So we have created guidelines, and these were the guidelines that we gave out to all the grantees about how to evaluate the accessibility of your materials. So this is kind of the material, this is the information that someone would catalog with that and give them, if you have to know, like, you should have a formal, for example, accessibility policy connected with the materials, because in case someone has a question, they can understand what the policies are. So in this guideline, folks, we give you resources to help you understand that and give you examples. So if you are trying to work through the accessibility resources of your materials, SkillsCommons has a wealth of materials to help you do your own evaluation. And we even have manuals, because we actually did some evaluation reviews for people. And we have guidelines about how to create accessible Word documents, things along those lines. So what SkillsCommons did, we didn't just collect the stuff, but we had to provide the support so the materials that got put in could meet those requirements. Okay, so because accessibility, critical importance. So I hope that was useful for showing you in SkillsCommons, we have a whole support center over here that provides a lot of information of how, let me just jump on that since we talked about this already. So if you want to know about Creative Commons license, we have a whole kind of section on to understand that language. So tools, frequently asked questions, etc., like that. So we have Creative Commons licensing, and we also have information about reusing open education resources. So if you found a Word document, what are the different strategies for reusing and revising and then completely making them over? So we have a lot of materials that can help you once you found stuff that you said I can work with. Now, how can I make it better for my students? Okay. So I hope that was helpful, just finding what's in there, knowing that there's a broad range of CTE programs, and also about how do you ensure that they can be accessible and you have them licensed so people can use them effectively. So the next thing I'm going to show you through, and think about what I'm doing right now is, let's say you're walking through a food court and you're trying to decide, what do I want? What am I hungry for, right? And so you're just kind of seeing a little bit about the menus, and you might see a little bit about, what's you can get at the different, restaurants there. And of course, if you would like a more in-depth, more hands-on, show up to the food and actually buy the stuff and use it, we can do a more detailed webinar that helps you work through and practice using this. So just, those are things, we're happy to do. What I'm going to do next is showcase. This is an area where we try to make it really easy for people to find materials that they may be able to use. So and there was some interest in what do I do with work-based learning, particularly when we have COVID, and how do you get hands-on learning when you have to be online? So one of the things we did, if you click on Showcase and then you hit the Apprenticeship and Work-Based Learning Showcase, we've organized materials that can help you really support the learning that can occur both online and hands-on in a socially distanced manner. So I'm going to start off with just the first overview to realize that how can online help apprentices, and help the managers and mentors who have to work with apprentices. So one of the things you can say is, well, before you go into the workplace, can someone look online and say, how can I become familiar with the concepts and the tools and the safety regulations and what might be communication strategies, the soft skills I might need to have? How do I get a little preparation so then when I have that precious time in the workplace with the mentor, I can make the most of it? And for the mentors and managers, they can say, what can I give my apprentice before they show up so they can be more ready to learn from the talent that I have on the floor? All right. So that's a way to think about how you can use SkillsCommons. And some of the resources, I'll just show you this, is if I was in, let's just pick HVAC. All right. So how can I look at, if I have HVAC, I have an HVAC program. So one, here are examples of apprenticeship programs in your HVAC industry sector. And we, again, made it easy for you to click on this. And now I can get the full curriculum and class standardization package for that HVAC. I click on that, I download that zip file of materials, and I can then go play. I'm not downloading them 6 megabytes because we're all on home internet, and you know, you always wonder about how all that's going to work. But here's, you know, again, a program from Wyoming, Mississippi, Washington, D.C., and another one from Wyoming. So you have the programs themselves, but we also try to highlight materials that you can look at immediately. So I might say, here's a complete package for auto heating and air conditioning lab, right? So our job, if you think from a librarian's perspective, kind of your showcase of, or if you want to think of these as like LibGuides where you pull together easy to reference material, or how do I do schematic reading? And so here's a case where here are all these documents on the syllabus for different elements that you have for part of this course in schematic reading. And then you have the course materials itself, and I'm just reading this. So here is a Canvas, a course material that you might be able to upload. So all these materials you can begin to see. We try to, the showcase is to try to make it easy for you to find the materials in your industry sector. The other aspect that we have is not only the technical expertise that you may want to develop, but also what are the soft skills. So part of the materials that we have is what's the collection of soft skills. And so then we help you find those materials as well. So hopefully you're getting a sense of what we have in Merlot, organized by industry sectors to help you easily find resources to suit your process, to suit your programs. And while I remember, you know, I think Jenny mentioned healthcare, just to give another example here. So you have how to run apprenticeship programs, you have materials that how do you can adopt them in your course, something like this, or these healthcare skills bites came out of Colorado. And these were where the industry said, these are the critical skills that employees were really having trouble with, and their students in these programs were having trouble with. So they kind of focused on kind of these really strategic bottlenecks that help you do this. You can log in for these materials as a guest. Again, it's free for you to pursue. And now here, it'll pop up. Here's the material for acid and base materials, and you just enter it, and here we go, and it'll open up for you. So it's running up right now. Okay. So you have a little audio video interactive tool to help you learn about those things. All right. So hopefully, again, trying to get down to enough detail of not only what's the library, but what's the type of resources that are in here. The next thing I'm going to show you is about dealing with affordability. One of the things that challenges is around the cost of course materials, whether it's textbooks or even in CTE programs. So what we did is we, and this is leveraging work we've done in the Cal State system, we put together what are all the general education, 50 general education courses that you often have in your lower division courses, and what are some of the free textbooks that are available for that you can assign for your students. So an intro to chemistry, or general chem for science majors, sequence A, analytic quantitative analysis, computer science. So again, I'm just showing you in all these cases that we have materials across courses that, you know, realistically, we share. And I'll just, you know, is financial accounting in Michigan and Missouri very much different than California? And so you might say, no, you know, there's a lot of similarity. Is there a general education textbook that's out there? Now, what we've done here is we've linked into the Merlot library, which is more academic. And then you can simply go to this material. Real quick, you have quality reviews. And then you go to another website, and now it'll open up. Here's a free textbook on principles of accounting. So if someone's doing the business side and they're trying to work in agriculture or manufacturing, they now have free access to a textbook that really solves an affordability issue for your students. Okay, so that's another one of our showcases to help you find. Oh shoot, So that's the general education side, and for CTE things, again, we've created some highlights. If you're looking for materials, just, you know, we did this for COVID. If you're looking for materials in infection control, these are things that you can readily adopt right away. And so simply click on preview that. We go to the skills bite, you enter it. So you saw this one already, this, you know, how this works. So we provided those. So if you're looking in CTE, but then you also might want to say, what are some materials that I might have in IT or energy? So we have those. And then we also organized all the material according to standard occupational classifications. So if you're looking for management and what are all the online courses for management occupations, click on that. You go into the collection, and here's 13 online courses in management operations. All right, so we're working our way around the food court of resources. What I'm gonna show you next, and then I'm gonna stop here. There's other stuff. Obviously, we have a lot of materials in here. What I'm gonna show you next is ways that you can get connected with materials and strategies for using open education resources. And one of them, one of the challenges that came out of working with a lot of the TAC grantees is when you bring in subject matter experts from industry, and they have the content expertise and they have the passion for their own discipline and their industry sector, but when they go into the classroom, they often have some challenges, right? And you know, the story is of you have someone who is committed and they put all in these hours learning to how to be an instructor, and with all the hours that they put in, you know, they start making $5 an hour, and then they say, why am I putting in all this time, right? And so we said, how can we help jumpstart successful instruction? So in this program that we have here, we went and we interviewed a number of, subject matter experts who suffered through and survived through becoming an instructor, and we asked them, what would you have liked to have known before you started? And so with all that information and working with one of the TACT grantees, we put together a series of little mini modules. And so there's 3 courses. So the first one, to jumpstart successful instruction. It's a first course, and these are all 17 to 30 minute interactive modules that cover topics about, okay, let's get you started. Well, how do you write an effective syllabus? How do you use an LMS? How do you define student outcomes? And Bloom's taxonomy, how do you think about different ways of looking at the skills you want your students to learn from? And so you have some more general ones, but something very specific like, what do you do on the first day of your class? A practical set of guidelines that then are used to help that industry expert to really develop their expertise in instruction. So the first module, again, there's 13 of them, 17 to 30 minutes. You can go and kind of play with them. I'll just show you real quick. So they're little modules that you can give people these links and then have them do it. And I can see that, oh, here we go. So you can see these are videos going to come up and walk you through it. So rather than wait for my slow home internet, I'm just going to go back to it. So just so you know, these are all there. So helping your instructors be successful in learning, helping your instructors find materials that are available, helping your instructional designers make things accessible. The last thing I'll just show you is many times if you're working with improving access for underrepresented populations in your different industry sector, we have, for example, this one program that came out of Ohio about supporting women in sustainable employment. And so here are our modules that are designed to help women move into construction industry. So here's, again, you click on that, and here is your entire curriculum. That, PowerPoints, handouts that you can then simply download, a facilitator's guide, and then reuse it. Because why? Here's a Creative Commons license. And by the way, so this material has been used 390 times, downloaded 181 times. So hopefully, let me stop there. Hopefully you got a reasonable sense of some of the materials that we have in SkillsCommons. And just so you know, it's almost 3 million downloads of the material since we opened the library in, I think it was like September of 2015. I think it was 15 or 14. All right. So Jenny, I'll stop there.
All right.
And if there's questions that have popped up that I can answer, and then we can finish out with the polling questions.
Sure. Well, we do have someone who is wanted to remind us for the folks who are new to OER that OER can also be printed because that's an important thing. Especially, I know we at MAC are very concerned about the lack of broadband access for a lot of our students, especially in rural areas. So sometimes they need to go someplace where they can download and print or order it in a printed form. Can you tell us anything about what SkillsCommons has there as far as information, or is it you would just download the things and print them where you could?
Right. That because you can download them and now they're like any other file on your desktop, you can then package them up with materials. You can turn them into PDFs and then send them to your local print shop and then create course packs. You can also just upload those materials or attach them within your learning management system. Again, that's digital, but having print versions, you can send it to your local bookstore. If you print them out and then give them to your bookstore where they can create course packs, those are all the things. Now, obviously, the videos don't come out in print.
No.
Right. But a lot of the materials, let me just show you something real. So some of the materials, hang on, are we had some stuff in plumbing, for example, and what they were is they were pictures, not video, of how do you repair water lines. And so it'd start up with a picture of the tools, and it'd have some text, and then pictures of, you know, what was leaking. So those can all be put into a print manual. And actually, many of the, if you wanted to look in, just look for materials that might be specific around assignments that that you might want to hand out. So you can just, this is advanced search, and you can just click on, give me all the like homework problems that I might give my students that I can put into a package, and then you can just hit, I just want assignments, and then you can pick your subject area. So hopefully just that helps you get to understand what you can do.
Yes. Well, and of course that re-emphasizes just how important not just the text, but the ancillary materials are. So again, a really important concern for a lot of folks, especially for folks who might have been hired at the last minute and need to pick up where someone else left off, or who don't do this very often. So that's great. Thank you.
Right, right. And I'll say, if you're looking for slides, right, you just hit presentation. So these are the ones that are, that are ready to go for you. And so many of these are going to be PowerPoint slides that then you can download. And again, because they're Creative Commons, you can reuse those immediately. And all you have to do is say, oh, this is, let me just pick one here, soil science from Vermont. So here's a 5 megabyte, and I can then use that and make that as a presentation right away. And then you also have exams and quizzes in the advanced search, so you can also find those for the auxiliary materials.
Great. Well, one more question then, and then we'll let you get onto your poll, your final polls. I know that a lot of CTE programs lead to some sort of license in each of our states, and as such, one of the questions that folks often have is, is there any information that would help someone link this to the need to get a license or something there?
Right. So one of the things, when let's say, well, okay, some of this is licensing is often industry sector specific. So
right.
One of the things you might say is, I want to make sure I want to look at materials. This is using the advanced search just to narrow down. Oh, here, you know what? Let me do this. Let me just put in something like here. This is, would you want to say certification?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
All right, just show how this. So here's something that's, so I'm just searching for things that have certification in it. So there's 7,000, and then I might say, what are the certification materials in healthcare?
Got it.
All right, and so now here's a patient care skills certificate handbook, or here's a patient skills pamphlet. All right, so here are certificate program recruitment files. So I just search by that, certificate, and then you can say, oh, let me just find what are the materials that have certificate and their presentations. So
awesome.
School health requirements. And so here's just a presentation for school health requirements that it's embedded with, oh, here's immunization and examination requirements for school entry.
Awesome.
Okay,
well,
so
thank you. I mean, we could go on and on, which is why
yep.
we encourage everyone to contact me, contact Jerry. We'll get you connected. I would love to see as many folks partnering and working with SkillsCommons as we can across the Midwest, because it is a fabulous resource, and it really will jumpstart any type of efforts that you've got underway on your campus. So let's see your final polls.
All right, so Katie, if you want to pop those up. Oh, do I have to stop sharing?
No, it looks like it's there. It says, have you learned something that will help you immediately in your teaching?
Oh, you're right.
Yes or no?
Perfect. I do see the responses coming in, so keep voting. I'll give you guys a few more seconds. All right. Looks like most have voted.
Yay! Awesome.
All right, and let's see. And how can I see that? I don't see the results. So if you could just tell me.
It was
Sorry,
92% said yes.
Why don't you
All right.
stop sharing quick? But
Okay.
yes, 92% said yes.
Okay, great. All right, let me
Stop
figure out
sharing.
where's my here we go. Okay, great. And then so I'm glad you folks found something of useful, and for the 8% who didn't, feel free to explore the site, and you might find some other stuff there too, because we're chock full of resources. And the next poll.
There you are.
Oh, and you know,
Would you like, it says, would you like a more extended virtual workshop on using SkillsCommons? Yes or no?
All right. Actually, it looks like most people have voted. So I'm gonna go ahead and close it. Here's the results.
Looks like 67% would like a more extended
Okay.
virtual workshop. So
All
let us know
right.
about it. We want to make sure we get you the resources you need.
Great, great. And you know, just so my job is to support your programs, from, you know, the whole compact to individual campuses. And, you know, again, think of this as a public library of resources, and our job is to help you be successful. So thank you, Jenny, Katie, Mary, for inviting me and supporting this workshop. And I wish everyone good luck as you continue to support your CTE programs.
Oh, thank you, Jerry. And I'll just remind other folks that our next CTE OER webinar will be on October 29th at 1 o'clock on that Thursday afternoon. It'll be entitled 5 Books in 4 Years, How Do We Do It? And that will take us through some of the work at the OpenRN program done in the Wisconsin Technical College system. So, all right, everyone, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.